We have practice takeaways. Let's talk about Mason Reiger because the Badgers may have a star in the front seven.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being an everydayer. Thank you for being part of this community. We have practice takeaways. I was stoked to be there today. Mason Reiger, the front seven, young cornerbacks, Billy Edwards, a lot of things to talk about on today's show. But first, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off purchase. Hopefully, the hotel Wi-Fi is solid. And if you see my eyes moving around, it's because I don't have my normal setup, so I have to kind of share a screen here where I have multiple things up. But let's talk about it. Let's start with Mason Reiger. He looks great. He blew up an early running play, got in there, leveled the running back, turned the corner consistently against Davis Heinzen, who really struggled with his speed, but he also had a nice inside rip move. He's just quick. He looks fast. He looks physical. He looks like the type of player that the Badgers haven't had in a while. That guy you can put his hand in the dirt, rush the passer, disrupt plays. He looked really good today. Mason Reiger looked really, really good today. He looks healthy. I think one of the biggest challenges with Reiger is going to be they're not going to maybe want to take him off the field because of the impact he can have. And one of the things I walked away from this was I think he can impact the run game pretty consistently because he can create disruption. He can beat tackles to the inside. He can bend the edge. He's strong enough to hold up. But you're not going to want him out there all the time because you're going to have to be careful with him because of the injury history. But I think the takeaway for me is when healthy, I think this is a difference maker. He looked awesome. Who also won in practice? I think winning in practice is always really hard, right? Because first of all, it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on. You're trying to focus, say, maybe on one-on-one battle on one side of the field, and there's something going on somewhere else. So when I say win in practice, it's with that caveat. You can't see everything. Seasoned people can't see everything, and I'm not that. But I thought the defense, especially in pass coverage, especially in the ability to rush the pass or be disruptive, I thought the defense got the better of the offense today in pass coverage, in the ability to disrupt the pocket, to create some pressure. Specifically, we talked to Ryer, but also Cheeks. Cheeks looked great today. Sebastian Cheeks. You're talking about a player that I don't know if enough guys are talking about, enough Badger fans are talking about. Came over from UNC. He was an inside linebacker. They moved him to outside, showed flashes last year. He had a play today going up against the ones. It was ones on ones, and Billy Edwards was an option play. Cheeks read the option, sat on the quarterback, and then just because he's an athlete, athletes do athletic things. Billy went to pitch it. Cheeks read that and then broke up the pitch, fell on it, would have been a fumble recovery for a touchdown probably. I mean, just disruptive. He had several other plays where he gave Heinzen or he gave Malman some issues with his speed. He's just an explosive player, shot out of a cannon. He looked great today. I think that's one of your starters. Probably it's him, Ryer, and then probably some combination of Suggs, Perkins, Daryl Peterson, that kind of group. Both of those guys off the edge looked really, really dynamic, really, really tough today. I thought Peterson looked good. Fierby had some moments. What a frame on that kid. You're talking about upside. Tyrese Fierby has got a ton of upside. So I thought the ability to create pressure, multiple sacks from multiple guys. Obviously, they kind of let the play keep going because you don't hit quarterbacks in this situation. But that group looked really good. And then coverage on the back end. We talked about this receiver room a lot. You know, I was there in spring a couple times where Jaden Ballard was able to get loose. There were some deep shots that were hit by the Badgers offense. The coverage was really good today. It was really good today. And I think there were a couple plays that were missed. Darian Dupree got loose down the sideline late. Daniel Neal missed him. There was another one where Jaden Ballard, I think, had a step, and Billy Edwards had shifted his vision somewhere else. So there were a couple potential opportunities there. But I thought Rico played really well. He looks good. He looks solid. He looks bigger. Emilio Agard, I thought, had a tremendous practice. Started early, run support. He comes up, he hits people. There's energy to him. Listen, you want guys after they hit somebody on defense, you want that energy. You want those guys who make a play, they hop around, they get people fired up. Agard a couple times coming up physical and run protection. And he looks like a different player than where he came in. He looks bigger. He looks more physical. And he's definitely not afraid to come up and hit. But he was also battling Jaden Ballard a couple times. He had a couple nice plays. Jaden Ballard trying to come back on a comeback route, a stop route. Emilio broke those up. And then Emilio undercut in skeleton, just 7-on-7 drills. Emilio undercut Vinny Anthony for a pick. Would have been probably a pick six. I thought Emilio looked really good. And you come away from this, Latimer had a couple nice plays in coverage as well. But you come away with this kind of saying, the battle for Nizer Fork is still going on, but I feel pretty good about that combo of Rico and Emilio. I thought they looked really good. There was a couple moments with Billy Edwards and the number one receiver unit in skeleton drills where Billy couldn't find anyone to throw to. He had to throw it away a couple times just because that coverage in skeleton drills was at that level. It was good enough to force, even in that situation, Billy to throw it away. The young cornerbacks that looked really good. Washington, Scott Skanes. You look at all three of them, and there's absolutely a type there. They're all 6'1". They're rangy. They're long. They played pretty well. Really nice coverage from Skanes on a couple plays. One on getting Eugene Hilton down the post. So I thought the secondary and the pass rush, if you're going to look at in that type of situation where they were throwing the ball, there really weren't deep shots completed. Ballard didn't get loose. Most of the damage the offense was able to do was underneath. It was on checkdowns. And then the pass rush got home. Now, again, the pass rush getting home makes you wonder about the offensive line. Anytime somebody wins in practice, somebody loses in practice. It felt like the offensive line struggled at times to keep the pocket clean. And that's probably going to be an issue. I will say offensive line, Heinzen was out at that one spot at tackle. You had Bronner at guard. Colin Cubberly, I thought looked really good. Got a lot of reps with the 1 and 2s at guard. So that's an interesting one. Kerry Kadonko was playing some backup center at times. So still mixing and matching on that offensive line. Heinzen, I know that's a question because of the left tackle, because you lost to Kevin Haywood. I thought at times he struggled with speed, had issues with some of the speed rushers off the edge. I thought he held up better against power players. He does show the ability. Just watch him today. I was really trying to focus on him. He is able to sit down, absorb a bull rush, kind of hold ground, hit a nice play in a screen where he got out in space, was able to kind of move a little bit there. But I do think when you look at this schedule this year, you look at the Oregons, the Ohio States, Iowa's going to be able to get after the quarterback because they always do. Bama. Speed on the edge might be a problem for this team. That it's still early, still trying to figure it out. And there's ways to coach with that, right? Maybe it's a tight end on the edge. Maybe it's fullback chipping. But speed on the edge is something that I think could be some issues this year. But I thought it's impressive that the Badgers have that speed on the edge. Cheeks and Reiger could be a pretty dynamic group. And talking to a couple of people after practice, talking to Luke Fickle, Coach Fickle talked about it too, about sometimes you just got to almost rein Mason Reiger in. I'm telling you, that guy could be a star. He looked incredible. Go through the linebackers. At the end of this, I'm going to take, if you guys have any comments, questions, throw them in there. At the end, I have a bunch of things. I'm just going to call it emptying the clip. I've got a bunch of just kind of notes or thoughts from practice I'm going to run through. If you guys have comments or questions, put them in there. I thought you look at that linebacker group, especially there's been so much focus on Christian Allegro, Tackett Curtis, that inside. Allegro's physical, multiple plays. He hits people north, south. I still wonder a little bit if in space that's a great duo. But I think it's really physical. I thought Allegro had a really, really strong practice. Going north-south, he just blows plays up. He had a nice play along the sidelines as well. Tackett Curtis had a nice play on a sideline, blowing up a screen pass. I think those two are going to be really good this year. I don't know if it's going to be consistently great because you got to remember, Christian Allegro, this is his first full season starting, and Tackett Curtis has missed so much time with injury. It's really his first healthy season, certainly in Wisconsin starting. So I would be careful expecting too much too soon. There still could be a bit of a learning curve there, learning this defense, learning each other, playing healthy, staying healthy. But I think there's going to be a lot of flash plays from those two. There's going to be a lot of big hits. There's going to be a lot of running backs that are going to walk back to the opposing huddle and kind of wonder about their life decisions. Maybe I don't want to be a running back in the Big Ten if I'm going to run into Christian Allegro every play. They look good. They look physical. They look good. I didn't see a ton from Tackett today. Today, I thought maybe Christian Allegro had a little more flash, but I thought they looked good. We're going to take a break here. Again, if you have comments, thoughts, throw them in there. We're going to come back, and I'm going to tell you where I thought the offense won today and a breakout performance from one of those players. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick break for our friends of the show, great friends of the show over at Drip Drop. And as always, a quick second to say thank you for tuning into Locked On Badgers. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, if you're trying to be healthy, workouts, long days on campus, a long day at work, Hydration is so important. That's where it all starts. And that's where Drip Drop comes in. I've talked about Drip Drop. It is a doctor-developed, scientifically proven fast hydration tool. It uses the perfect balance of sodium, electrolytes, and glucose to get your body to absorb those fluids 3 times faster, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of the leading sports drink. My kids love this. We love the cherry flavor. You just mix it in. It's simple. It's easy. My kids destroyed my Drip Drop box because it's so good. And it's a great way for them to get hydration in the summer when it's so hot. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com. Use promo code LockedOnCollege. That's dripdrop.com. Promo code LockedOnCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before this heat continues to beat you down. Okay, let's talk about where I think the offense won today. Brian Shetty, is Ryer standing out due to concerns with the offensive line, though? Yes and no. Like, it's a great question, Brian. Like, it is a great question. And we talk about this all the time. If somebody wins in practice, that means almost inherently somebody has to lose in practice. I think it's a combination of both with Ryer. He looks great. And Ryer has a track record now. The reason Ryer is here, in my opinion, the reason the Badgers were able to get a guy like him is he came with health concerns. If he's healthy, we saw what he did at Louisville. So he has a pedigree of doing this at the highest level. He was disruptive at Louisville. He is a burst. He's physical. He absolutely looks the part. However, I also think it wouldn't look that easy if Kevin Haywood was on the edge. It just is what it is. Kevin Haywood's special. And it's no shot to anybody else. But I do think there is a bit of a question still on the edges of the Badgers offense line, specifically that left tackle spot. I think Riley Mahlman's fine. And I think Davis Heinzen can be fine too, but he's not going to be Kevin Haywood. I think he's going to potentially struggle to match speed for speed. Now, again, I thought he held up pretty well watching him. And I'm not an offensive line coach either, obviously, caveat. I thought he held up pretty well against some of the power rushes, being able to sit down, anchor, and he moved pretty well in a screenplay. I was watching him. He got out in space. So there's skill there. There's talent there. He's played a lot of games, and he's still getting used to this system as well, right? So that should continue to get better there. But pretty consistently, it felt like if you put speed on that side, speed was generally winning, whether it was Cheeks, whether it was Ryer. It is a good question, though, Brian. Let's talk a little bit about where I thought the offense won. So I talked about the defense. I thought the defense was pretty good when they were able to play pass rush, play pass coverage. I thought they were really good, actually, in those situations. I thought the offense won running between the tackles, especially early in practice, but I thought they were able to kind of gash that interior Badgers defensive line with Dylan Jones, with Cade Yakimelli, Darian Dupree had a couple, but Dylan Jones specifically to me, he looked great. He's smooth. I mean, it's like he's skating out there. I mean, just whereas other players aren't moving with that same fluidity. He's not a 4-3 guy, but he moves with a ton of fluidity. Really natural runner between the tackles, has good vision, sets up his blocks, and then it's just no wasted motion with him. It's north-south, put the foot in the dirt, and explode forward. He ripped off a 60-yard explosive off a run off the left side. He looked really good to me. And I thought the interior of that line, I've talked about it. I think the right move could potentially be Brunner at left tackle, and then you figure it out on the inside. Maybe this is a reason why you leave Brunner at guard, because I thought that interior, that offensive line mauled a little bit. I thought they got pushed. I thought they created some seams, and Dylan was good today. Dylan hurt them running between the tackles, and they're going to need to be able to do that this year. They're going to need to be able to open up those seams in the middle. The defense, again, is that the Badgers defensive line struggling a little bit on the interior? Is that the Badgers offensive line being really good? Again, potentially both. It's tough in practice to see every one-on-one matchup, to see everything that's going on. There's action on both sides of the field. But I thought Yak had a couple really nice runs on the interior as well. He looks yoked up, made somebody miss in the hole. I thought the run game on the interior was good. I thought it was solid. And then just continuing to talk about the offense, you talk about, I think Badger fans are going to be thrilled with just to return to a little bit of creativity with Coach Grimes. Not always going to work, but man, they are pre-snap motioning offensive tackles and then running the other way off misdirection, RPO, a fake into a screen pass, a jet sweep, getting Tretch Kekahuna in motion, rolling the pocket out and throwing back to tight ends, dragging across the field. There was a play early in practice. Aker was in the slot, motion him. They go power eye with Aker and Dylan Jones behind him, and then just a halfback dive between the center guard. It just feels like a real offense. It feels more cohesive. It makes more sense. I think Badger fans, I'm telling you, just seeing it just feels better. It feels like this is an offense that is going to create some mismatches to defenses. It feels like an offense that's going to create some seams, some gaps, some disadvantages for the defense as if they don't shift quickly enough. I like it. I just it's been so bad the last couple of years. It feels like this one makes sense, and I think it fits the player personnel a little bit better. So again, offense, I thought they looked good running the ball in the interior. Dylan Jones I thought he looked great. I thought like when they came in, it was kind of Darion, Dylan. I think pretty clearly, and it's not anything Darion's not doing. I just think Dylan has taken a pretty big step, and there's your bell cow this year. And then Yak looked good as well. On the receiver side, Vinny, I look great. He looks like Vinny Anthony, that receiver that we really blew up last year. He had one drop over the middle, but he was having a lot of battles with Ricardo Hallman and Emilio Agard. He looks really, really good. Jaden Ballard struggled to create some separation today. No real deep shots that they were able to hit there, but physically he definitely looks the part. And then Tretch in space looks explosive. I'll say this, a guy that surprised me, and I know other people have talked about it, but I haven't been able to get to practice until the day to see him. Tyrell Henry's going to play. I think on special teams, as a punt returner, potentially kick returner, he looks just vertically explosive, quick in space, a little bigger than maybe the traditional slot receiver. I think there's a role there for Tyrell Henry, and I don't know fully where, because you're also talking about Eugene Hilton and Chris Brooks, and obviously you have Ballard and Tretch and Vinny Anthony. I'm not saying there's a big role, but I think he's going to play. I really think he's going to have a role this year. I know the coaches like him. I thought he looked really good. Let's talk tight ends. Here's one. I think Lance Mason probably in line for a bigger role than I thought. And again, one practice, but pretty active in the pass game. Several clips of him dragging across the field or being a bit of an outlet. Nice hands, moves pretty well, but also maybe a little more physical than I'd give him credit for. There was a nice clip where he washed out, I think it was Posa. I'm trying to remember. I don't have all my notes up, but I thought he stood out to me. I didn't see a ton from Tucker Ashcraft. He caught a nice one later in practice off some misdirection. Emmett Bork, if we're just talking about tight ends, not so much this year, but take your Emmett Bork stock and maybe buy a few more shares. Put it away in the cupboard for a couple years. He's a big dude, and he moves pretty well. I kind of like Emmett Bork. I think that's a guy, if you're going to buy maybe low in the tight end room, I would go there. Danimal, I see your comment here. How are the tight ends looking or any standing out? I think I just kind of talked about it. I thought Lance Mason looked pretty good. Didn't see a ton from Tucker Ashcraft or Grant Steck. Again, it doesn't mean there wasn't a ton there. At times, I'm looking at one side of the field and something's going on the other side. But I thought Lance Mason stood out to me. I saw Nijee Davis on the sidelines. That is not this year, but there's a huge frame on that kid. That kid could have quite a bit of upside as well. But I would say Lance Mason, yeah, I think he could be in line for a bigger role than I maybe originally thought. P, good friend of the show, says, jet sweep to Kekahuna finally. Yes. But they also did other things with him. So this is, again, it felt like there was a lot of, you can see the building blocks of how this offense is going to set things up for future things, right? And in practice, it's not always that. In practice, you're not always setting up the defense for something that's going to come next. But you can see orbit motion with Kekahuna where, they're getting him out of space, but it's almost to draw the defense to one side. But they're going to build something off of that. One of the things I mentioned was you saw a couple times they're taking offensive lineman pre-snap, motion him across formation, creating kind of a jumbo side. And then they would run the opposite side to it. They would run misdirection off of that. But that's also setting up for something else. So I think there's a lot of building blocks in this Grimes offense that is going to set up other things, which as the season goes on is going to be really nice. Wes Mullenix says, Ryan, why don't you have my notes? I do have my notes. It's just in the hotel room. Like I have one screen and I can't have all my screens up at sometimes. It's just, I'll do better tomorrow. All right, we're going to take one more quick break, and then I'm going to empty the clip. I just got a bunch of kind of random stuff that I thought was fun. If you have any comments, questions, thoughts, we'll hit those next. Take one quick second for our friends of the show over at Gametime. They'll get right back into it, including two young players that I think the Badgers can dream on a little bit. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show. And as always, a quick second to say thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. Today's episode brought to you by our incredible friends over at Gametime. Gametime's awesome. I've used this service. I swear by it. Again, I've talked to you guys. I had a connection let me down. I mean, it was my buddy's connection, but we had free tickets. We had a hookup. We had great seats. And then the buddy let us down. So on the way to the Braves game, I got on my Gametime app, found us incredible tickets, a great price. And before our Uber dropped us off, I had those tickets in my email box ready to go. It's that simple. It was a great price. We had great seats. You get pictures of the seats before you sit down, and you can use this for everything. I've still never been to a concert in my life. I should do that before I die, probably. That feels like something that I should experience at least once in life. What concert would you go to if you've never been to one and you're 41? That's actually a good question. I don't know. But when I do that, I'm going to get those tickets on Gametime because it's so simple. It's cheaper, it's faster, it's easier. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create the account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. You will not regret it. Okay, let's come back into this. Let's take any comments or questions that you guys have. I know it's in the middle of the day here. Stephen Keel says, who on the schedule do the Badgers have better or like talent? That's so one thing I don't do on here is I don't blow smoke. I try to never blow smoke. I got to be honest. I haven't taken deep dives on everybody that the Badgers are playing this year. I usually take a deep dive like the week of that game because I think it's the most germane time to do it, I guess. They don't have more talent. Certainly, they don't have more talent than Bama, Oregon, Ohio State. I think I don't know. Iowa, I think they probably are like talented. The first two non-conference games, I think Minnesota, they're better than. Illinois, Indiana, I'm not as high on, quite frankly. I think Washington's maybe a toss-up. I don't know. This is something I will definitely get into more, but I need to actually look at those teams a little bit more. Fortunate Son on 111 says, how is Mesa Posta doing so far? So that is a great segue, Fortunate Son. Thank you for jumping in. One of the notes I had, so Posta was out there today. First of all, looks the part. Physically big, imposing, everything you expect from a blue chip type of prospect of his status. He didn't burst a ton today, but there were a couple plays he made in the boundary, hitting, tackling, being pretty physical. And then Cooper Catalano made a couple really nice plays too. And one of the notes I took was you can really dream as a Badger fan. You can really dream on the future inside linebacker duo of Posta and Coop. That I think in a year or two, that's going to be a pretty dynamic group. Now, again, who knows in college football what a year or two from now ever looks like anymore, but I think they got two real ones there with Cooper Catalano and Mason Posta. Again, I didn't see any like splash plays from Posta today. I saw more from Coop, to be honest. But they both looked apart, man. And I think that's going to be a really interesting duo there. A couple others. Let's empty the clip. Let's get into the notes. Some other things that I saw that I liked. First of all, let's start with Tyler Jancy. And this is in no order. This is just me kind of running down some of my notes as I was watching practice. He's fun, man. So Tyler Jancy, former inside linebacker, shifted to fullback. And originally, I'm in our Discord, if you're there with us on the Locked On Badgers Discord. And if you're not, come join us there. My first thought was, I don't know if he's going to. I kind of like Tyler Jancy at fullback now. Man, he got chippy. He's getting after it blocking. He had a couple plays like after the play where he's pushing people around, had a carry. Like he wants it. You can tell. Like he keeps playing after the whistle a little bit. He's kind of built like a fullback. It's interesting. I don't hate it. Let's see a couple other things. Carter Smith. So got to see Carter Smith. You get to see all the quarterbacks, right? Milos, Hunter, Daniel Neal, Billy Edwards. Let's actually start with the whole quarterback room. So we'll go down the entire list. Billy Edwards, what an absolute upgrade over Tyler Van Dyke. And just a really good arm. I think it's a B+, maybe A-. It's probably not the raw strength of Tyler Van Dyke, but man, he really puts great zip on the intermediate throws. He trusts his eyes. He throws as breaks are happening. There were some tight window throws to slants to Jaden Ballard and Vinny Anthony, and he trusts it. And that ball has velocity on the intermediate routes. Certainly enough arm to hit out routes, corner routes. I really like the arm. I like the motion. He moves in the pocket. There were a couple read options. There was one he kept. There was an option play they tried. They rolled the pocket once. I would call him, from a mobility standpoint, mildly dangerous. But that's more than what you've had recently. He's not a burner. He's not someone who's going to threaten the edge if a defense really sets it. But he is somebody who's going to rip off 5, 6 yards, 10 yards if a defensive end crashes down on a read option, right, on a zone read. I thought in the pocket he moved pretty well. Did throw a pick to Emilio. I thought he was good though. Mostly took what was there. I liked what I saw from Billy Edwards. There's a calming sense about it. And the other thing, I talk about this a lot in basketball. You have to see players in person. You have to, especially if you can see players in practice, it changes the game. It changes how you look at them. It changes everything. Billy Edwards, there was a play, false start somewhere in middle practice, and you could tell. I think it was offside. Sorry, I don't think it was false start because they kept playing it, and so it's kind of a free play. Billy recognized it. Jaden Ballard was on a 9 route on the right side of the field, and it felt like Jaden kind of stopped running a little bit. Billy threw it up. It was overthrown. And after the play, Billy waited for him, right, and dabbed him up. And let's get to the next one. These little things, you can tell he's a leader. You can just tell you don't need to talk to people all the time to tell they're a leader. Most of leadership, most of communication is nonverbal. And I think he's got that in spades. I was really impressed with Billy Edwards. Number 2 quarterback, Daniel O'Neal. I thought he was okay today. But yeah, he moves a little bit. Good arm. Had a couple tipped passes. Badger fans are going to have PTSD over tipped passes. There were a couple of those today. One went for an interception off a tip. I think that was Daniel O'Neal that threw that. Hunter Simmons had a tip pass. Carter Smith had a tip pass. A couple tip passes there, but you can tell why the staff likes Daniel O'Neal as that back quarterback. A little more mobile. Not the biggest guy, but I thought he was fine today. Carter Smith, a guy that a lot of people have talked about and a lot of people are interested in. I thought he was okay today. Again, he's a true freshman, and he didn't throw the ball a ton last year because he was hurt. I think the arm needs to come a little bit still. There was really nice touch on a couple deep throws. One to Mason Kelly and another to, I think, a tight end. A really nice touch. I think his deep ball touch is pretty impressive. He feathered the ball over the defenders, laid it right in there. The intermediate routes, I didn't think there was as much zip there on the throws as I was expecting. Take that for what it's worth. I'm not a quarterback guru. I think he's got a little ways to go still, but he should. He's a freshman quarterback, and everything you liked about him is still there. I think the intangibles play, the mobility plays, the toughness plays. And again, I thought there was nice touch on the ball. So that's the quarterbacks. Jan Volk says it's too early to tell, but I think a lot depends on how well these players get along both on and off the field. I think culture matters. And everybody I've talked to is really happy with where that aspect of the program is right now. And I'll leave it at that. I think it's a great point, Jan. Also a great friend of the show. Danimal, great to hear the fullback again. Yeah, they used the fullback a couple times. Motioning Aker into like a power I. They are going to use that for sure. It's not going to be 30 times a game, but they are definitely going to use that. Wes, who was covering Ballard when he was struggling to get separation? So there was, again, it's hard. You can't watch everything, and I wish I could. It's these moments when I'm like, gosh, must be nice to be like, have a team of people there. And I just don't. It is what it is. Don't make no mistake. I'm incredibly grateful to be there and humbled. And thank you to Nate and the program and Ben and everybody Pat and everybody that allows me to be there. It's incredible. But you can't see everything. There was a play later towards the end of practice. Austin Brown ran with Ballard pretty well across kind of a deep drag, kind of a deep post. So Brown showcased some of that speed there. Amelia Agard was governing Ballard for a while. And you can tell he knows that speed is there, but he's pretty physical with him. Yeah, I don't know. There was some issues, I think, from a lot of the receivers getting separation today, which has to make you feel great about the DBs. I came away, that's one of my top takeaways about this practice was I thought the pass coverage was good, the DBs were good. I thought that was a really nice part. Evan Malone, let's go, dude. Watching live from my family pool. Where else would you rather be? On a Saturday in the pool, watching Locked On Badgers. Let's go, Evan. Appreciate you, brother. Badger and Bournemouth says you could have given us a heads up on the Discord you were going live, Ryan. It's true. I promise. And B&B is a great dude on the Discord and a good friend of the show as well. Great part of this community. I'll do a better job of that tomorrow. So I will go live again after practice tomorrow. And then I think Monday, Nick Osen and I are probably going to go live after practice. So that's the rough timeline, but I will definitely give you guys a better heads up on that for sure. A couple other thoughts here. Definitely look for Cheeks and Ryer to play a lot. Nicholas Clayton had a couple nice moments. Turn the corner, beat Benchwall in a sack. Colin Cubberly getting some really nice run with the ones and the twos. I thought he looked pretty impressive. Let's see. Let me pull up the rest of my notes here. I apologize, guys. Oh, my computer died. My laptop with the notes on it. Perfect. But I think I got most of it there anyway. I'll post probably the rest of the notes just in the Discord, to be honest. So if you're in the Discord, you'll be able to get those. If you're not in the Discord, why aren't you in the Discord? Come join the Discord. I'm going to put it up here. It's also in my Twitter bio. It's free. It's a community board. No politics, no Gophers. Basically, everything else goes. It's a great spot if you want to come talk Badgers. I'm going to post the rest of my practice thoughts there. Again, really good practice, big picture takeaways. If I'm going to say these are the 3 big rocks from practice, the first is I feel better about our pressure packages. I feel better about our ability to get pressure on the edge, to hit quarterbacks, to be disruptive. I think the pieces there make sense. I think the coverage was good. And then offensively, I do believe in Billy Edwards. I believe that quarterback spot is going to be better. The system fits him. I think the scheme makes sense, and Dylan Jones can run the ball. A lot of young players stepped up as well. Remington Moss, I thought, had a good moment. The young cornerbacks played well. Posa, Cooper Catalano, Eugene Hilton had a couple really nice catches. He had a drop later in practice, but I thought you can see why he's so highly regarded. I think he's going to be really good across the board for the Badgers. He looked good today. So lots of good stuff. As always, really excited to have been there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to go live after every practice I'm at. So I'll be here again tomorrow, probably again Monday, and I'll do the best I can to get you guys any type of coverage that you want. Hit me up if there's something else you would like from practice. And from there, on Wisconsin, thank you as always so much for tuning in, and we will definitely talk tomorrow.